Who among the members of JO1 has the highest ideals when it comes to love? I will predict this in a ranking format. My name is Olivia Miyaoka, a fortune teller who has been running this fortune telling channel for about 5 years. As usual, I will provide a detailed reading using Western astrology and numerology. So I'm not just talking based on my own fantasies. Now, I would like to announce the rankings right away. People with low ideals are in 11th place. Conversely, the person with the highest ideals will take first place. Let's set aside the last place, which is 11th, and announce from 10th place is Mr. Kawanishi. The ideal score is 50 out of 100. To be honest, I don't think Mr. Kawanishi is that high in his ideals. That said, he does have his own standards for a partner. Of course, there are those. What kind of ideal is it, you ask? First of all, it is to be a kind woman. This is a prerequisite. I also think it would be good if she has a strong sense of tolerance. There is a tendency to strongly seek empathy. Empathy means being able to resonate with what Mr. Kawanishi is saying and doing. Mr. Kawanishi is warm and reassuring. I aspire to have a familial relationship. Despite being such a handsome man, Kawanishi values inner qualities over appearance. Specifically, whether someone can accept and provide a sense of security. I believe it is very important to build a warm relationship like that of a family. You place emphasis on emotional connections and feeling comfortable together. You have such ideals. Mr. Kawanishi is likely to build a warm relationship that envelops his wife or partner with deep affection. That's a very good point, but conversely, it can also lead to some drawbacks. Everyone has flaws, but I've been told by my partner or wife, I can be easily hurt by a little comment or trivial words. That's one example. Being sensitive is not a bad thing, in fact, because you are sensitive. You become more attuned to the feelings of others, which can be a good thing. However, if the emotional ups and downs are too intense, the person you are with might feel a bit exhausted at times. Additionally, there may be times when you become overly dependent on your partner in your quest for reassurance. This means that because you are entrusting everything to the other person and opening your heart completely, you can become dependent. But there is a degree to this issue as well. And there may also be a tendency to demand excessive affection from the other person. In summary, Mr. Kawanishi's ideal type and vision of love and is a warm familial relationship. Therefore, someone who seems very kind and actually acts kindly, with a capacity for understanding. Most important to empathize with what Mr. Kawanishi is doing and saying. Next is the announcement of the 9th place. 9th place goes to Mr. Kono. Mr. Kono's ideal height level is 55 points. Before the assessment, I thought Mr. Kono had higher ideals, but that wasn't the case. When Mr. Kono is looking for a partner because he wants a girlfriend, he doesn't necessarily have extremely high ideals, but there are certain points he won't compromise on. Isn't it true that someone with a strong awareness of achieving a partner who is also capable of making an effort? Mr. Kono leads a goal-oriented life and can steadily work towards the target when it is in front of him. He is also someone who has a sense of responsibility. Therefore, I tend to seek a romantic partner or wife who is diligent and has a clear vision for the future. I also think there might be a part of me that prefers serious people. In any case, since I have a serious and responsible nature, I naturally expect similar qualities. I believe that's how I feel. Realistically speaking, it means having social skills. No matter how cute or beautiful someone is, if they lack common sense or seem to have little social awareness, like a whimsical or airheaded type of woman, they might be hard to accept. Instead, there tends to be a preference for trustworthy women who are grounded and reliable. Since we started dating, we can seriously talk about our future. I think it's important to consider whether the other person is the right one. Because of the serious and earnest side, the other person might find me a bit stiff. But if I am originally a serious and proper woman at all, In summary, to be liked by Kono-san is essential to have a serious and responsible personality, having common sense and a clear vision for the future, and being able to discuss it seriously is important. Isn't that what will become important? Next is the 8th place. In 8th place is Mr. Kinju. Mr. Kinju's ideal height level is 60 points. From this point on, my ideals have gradually become higher. Mr. Kinju has his own standards for everything, doesn't he? In terms of love, is this really a relationship worth having? I tend to be cautious when choosing a partner because I want to build valuable relationships. I also have a personality that tends to take action quickly. However, I don't often approach someone right away. Even if I think they are great, I am the type to think carefully before taking action, and once I have decided on an ideal, I almost never stray from it. So I might miss out on opportunities. There might be times when that happens. There is probably that much caution. Now, let's take a look at what kind of ideals Kinju has in love. I think the most important thing is to feel comfortable being together. It is also very important to have a peaceful relationship. Furthermore, when it comes to appearance, having good taste is also essential. Good taste is not something that can be acquired overnight. So to some extent, it is innate. Fashion and sense, other aesthetic sensibilities can be developed with effort. To break it down further in terms of what Mr. Kaneshiro seeks in good taste, it involves dining etiquette. What kind of meals one prepares, and what kinds of food one enjoys, what you wear, and how you spend money. Your economic perspective. This area becomes quite important. So let's try living together based on our ideal lifestyle. It means that it's good to have someone with a similar sense of style as myself. Mr. Kinju mentioned that he has his own ideals and is cautious when choosing a partner. But once he meets an ideal partner, he is the type who can build a good romantic relationship on a stable foundation. Therefore, being cautious in choosing a partner by no means a bad thing. This is a summary. Mr. Kinju's ideal in love is to feel comfortable together, to be calm. And these 3 points are required. A good sense of style. Specifically, a good sense of style refers to dining etiquette. What kind of meals do you like? Sense of what you wear. Economic perspective. These seem to be the case. Next is the 7th place. In 7th place Mr. Kawajiri. The ideal height level is 65 points. I think it's safe to say that the ideals are quite high. The reason why Kawajiri-san's ideals are high is that they tend to be dreamy about love. There is a sense of longing for how things should be in their romantic feelings. I think we all have our own ideal images from romantic dramas and movies for situations that resemble those. Therefore, we seek a dreamlike, ideal relationship. There is such a tendency. Not only that, but you also seek a realistic sense of security. Can we build a stable relationship while being together? Is the person kind and nurturing? And do they accept everything about me? I also seek this kind of mental support. And I seek healing as well. This might be quite difficult, don't you think? I feel like it's not something that can be easily fulfilled. Mr. Kawajiri's sun sign is Pisces. People with the Pisces sign, like Mr. Kawajiri, and tend to be romantic. This tendency can also be applied to love. This romantic and dreamy personality is not necessarily a bad thing. It is precisely because of this nature that Kawajiri-san possesses an exceptional artistic sensibility and can deliver wonderful things to everyone. Which is a positive aspect. However, ideals are just ideals and they do not always come true. So the gap between ideals and reality can be a source of suffering in Kawajiri-san's romantic life. It means having excessive expectations. The greater the expectations, the greater the disappointment. There are times when it's difficult to choose or decide on a partner. Indecisiveness tends to come out during these times. However, if Kawajiri-san can meet their ideal partner, I can't help but think that they would be incredibly kind and devoted, able to build a wonderful relationship. So I really hope they can make it happen. In summary, Kawajiri-san's ideal is to seek a dream-like relationship, akin to a scene from a movie or drama.
At the same time, they also desire
a
the
realistic
exact
sense
opposite:
of security,
kindness, and embrace.
and whether the other person will accept
all of me. It also means that I am simultaneously seeking mental
support and healing.
Here is an announcement from the Lord's fortune-telling site. Next is the 6th place.
In 6th place
is Mr. O'Hara. Mr. O'Hara's ideal height level is 70 points. Mr. O'Hara is someone who has a strong desire to improve and always aims for higher goals. So he seeks a partner who also has that ambition, specifically, whether they are as hardworking as he is, and whether they support his dreams. Can you feel positive when you're together? These 3 points are important, which means she is a forward-thinking and proactive woman. On the contrary, if the other person makes even a slightly negative comment or seems to be living in a daze
you
without
might find
being
that
unsatisfied
to talk
I
about
don't
their
think I
dreams
find those
in the
kinds
first
of
place.
people attractive. I believe there are quite a few women with a strong desire to improve
They are
like
present
this
in the places where
as
they
just a
exist.
human. There are times when you might feel negative and want to vent to someone you trust. However, it seems better not to say too much of that.
Mr.
O'Hara, it would be better to share those feelings with female friends
instead
or
of
family.
Mr.
O'Hara. If I could date someone as ambitious as O'Hara,
I would
always feel motivated to do
and
my
we
best.
could achieve
our dreams together. Even if those dreams are different, there's no doubt we could build a positive relationship that elevates each other. We can grow together and achieve our goals. However, there is a downside to this, which is that it might feel more like being comrades pursuing dreams, potentially neglecting the romantic aspect. Romance can be a place where you can free yourself and feel at ease. So for those seeking such a thing, it might feel a bit exhausting. That's Mr. O'Hara's ideal is someone who can pursue dreams together. Someone who helps me grow. People who support O'Hara's dreams. Whether you can feel positive when you're together is important. This can't be achieved with a half-hearted effort. Living with a positive mindset and having goals in everyday life. That means it would be good if they were that kind of person. Next is the 5th place. In 5th place is Mr. Kimimura. Mr. Kimimura's ideal height level is 75 points. In Mr. Kimimura's case, it might be fair to say that aligning with the ideal is perhaps the most difficult. The reason is that Mr. Kimimura is based on a sensory feeling of someone who resonates with them. Mr. Kimimura has a very sharp intuition and a well-developed spiritual sensitivity. I think they often choose their life based on intuition, and that tends to be the right choice. Therefore, when it comes to dating women, it's likely that you'll have a strong intuition about someone you find appealing. However, since we are human, that intuition can be wrong. Even someone you think is great has flaws, and when those flaws become apparent, it's possible to suddenly lose interest. There is a tendency to lose interest if there is even a slight difference from the initial image you had. Therefore, well, it's basically good to follow your intuition. Applying this to living humans makes love a complicated matter. Now, let's specifically look at what Mr.'s ideal actually is. First, it will be important to see if they are living with as much energy and effort as you are. Mr. Kimimura is very energetic, which is no surprise, given his success as a popular idol. It is precisely because he has the energy and the power to achieve his goals that he is looking for a woman who is just as energetic. I think I prefer women who are more energetic than quiet ones. However, in this regard, it's difficult for others to specify. What kind of person is the ideal woman for Mr. Kimimura? It's hard to articulate this aspect specifically, and this is about as much as I understand. I can say that I like women who live passionately. As I mentioned earlier, I choose my partner based on intuition. Then when I went on a date, they weren't who I expected. Choosing a partner based on intuition like that can lead to facing reality, which can be a downside. Additionally, there is a tendency to get easily excited also be a point and then to watch out lose interest. Therefore, Mr. Kimimura may not get married. In summary, Mr. Kimimura's ideal is someone he feels is good based on his intuition so it's difficult to articulate exactly what kind of person that is. However, one thing is certain: it can be said that it is important for them to live as energetically. Next is fourth place. In fourth place is Mr. Tsurubo. Mr. Tsurubo's ideal height level is 80 points. Mr. Tsurubo's ideals regarding women. There are 3 main points that I will discuss now. The first is whether you feel bored when we are together. The second is whether we can have an intellectual conversation. The third point is whether we can respect each other's freedom. It's quite difficult, isn't it? I think a woman who can achieve these 3 things can be considered mentally independent. Anyway, Tsurubo dislikes being constrained and has set mental independence as a major theme in life. So simply saying it's better to have a partner because it's lonely, or that they got together because they like each other, doesn't satisfy him. Such reasons are not enough to satisfy him. The intellectual level and the depth of the partner's spirit. I wonder if they are exploring whether or not they have an interest in new things. To summarize, Mr. Tsurubo does not restrict themselves. They seek a relationship where both respect each other's free time, can have intellectual conversations, and do not get bored being together. If a woman who can fulfill such an ideal were to appear before me, we would likely be able to have a mature relationship while growing together. However, this is quite a high ideal. Even if I start dating someone I think is great, I often feel like something is missing. There is also the possibility that relationships because of gradually developing thoughts. And perhaps it's also true that having expectations that are too high for the other person can lead to disappointment. It's the fate of those who have high ideals. However, I think it's very good that Mr. Tsurubo places such importance on the mental aspect. Next is the third place. In third place is Mr. Yonashiro. The ideal height level is 85 points. In Mr. Yonashiro's case, he dislikes starting a relationship with compromises. I think it's better to be alone than to date someone if there isn't a woman who matches my ideals. First of all, if I'm going to date someone, I want to deeply understand about everything. Can we have deep conversations with each other? This is becoming very important. I don't like superficial conversations. Don't you think that doing such things is meaningless? It's also important whether we can share each other's values. It's natural for our values to differ. We need to discuss this with each other and determine what we can compromise on. This is about drawing the line on what we can and cannot for a relationship where we can align our values and have discussions, and to avoid falling into a rut. This also becomes important, doesn't it? Being together is never boring. There might be some intellectual stimulation. Mr. Yonashiro is watching. Not falling into a rut can be quite difficult in a long-term relationship. This is because the term monotony has a negative connotation in a positive light. It means that things are stable. Stability can also be a good thing. However, it seems that Mr. Yonashiro doesn't like that kind of stability. We've been together for a long time, but I didn't know this side of this person. I didn't know this until now. I want my partner to feel that way. In summary, Mr. Yonashiro seeks to have deep conversations with his partner, and he seeks to share each other's values. It will also mean seeking whether there are further new discoveries from the partner. To be honest, I think Mr. Yonashiro has a masculine charm, making him quite a captivating man. Appeal. However, with such high ideals, it may be difficult for him to become a man who has many romantic encounters. There may be plenty of one-night stands or relationships that aren't very deep and short-term romantic partners. But what I truly seek is a relationship with someone I genuinely desire. Having high ideals and high expectations for a partner can make it difficult to have a life full of love. I believe that with a partner whose ideals align, one can build a good relationship without ever getting bored. Next is in second place. In second place is Mr. Sato. I think Mr. Sato lives believing that he should be perfect. In fact, I really think that both the appearance and the inner self, as well as the performance, are perfect or wonderful. So every time I see them, when I expect the same effort to be from others as well. Therefore, there is a point where I become concerned about minor flaws. Therefore, the ideal height will be 90 points.
First, the appearance, behavior, and attitude of the other very important. Additionally, the other person's fashion sense and way of speaking are also important. I prefer someone who is kind and feminine. I think it's fair to say that. Just that alone would make it difficult to win Sato's heart. It's important not only to consider the partner's conditions, but also whether they can bring out my charm to the fullest. I want someone who can support me in the best possible way. That said, I don't want just a supportive presence. I want a woman with a respectable personality who can shine alongside me. Isn't it a bit unrealistic to expect to find a woman who looks like she would match you perfectly? However, I suppose it's understandable if it's someone like Mr. Sato. Even though Mr. Sato has such high ideals, first and foremost, it is important to have someone who fairly evaluates and acknowledges you in a high-quality manner. Mr. Sato is not just a handsome guy. It's not just that he's good-looking or that I like him. It's that he has these wonderful qualities. This is something that others don't have. It's amazing because it's unique. Being able to give such high-quality compliments and acknowledgements is important. Isn't this a good first step? In summary, Mr. Sato's high ideals and the specific image of those ideals with a respectable personality that matches his own brilliance, and a partner who can support him in the best way possible. Someone with whom he can grow as a person and has a good sense of fashion. You could say that you are looking for a partner with a certain way of speaking, appearance, and behavior. Next, we will announce the first place. There are 2 members remaining. This is Shariwa and Mumehara. One of them will be in first place, and the other will be in last place, meaning they are not very ambitious. So, who is ranked first as the person with the highest ideals, and who is ranked 11th as the person with the lowest ideals? Here comes the announcement for first place goes Mr. Shiroiwa. Did everyone's predictions come true? Mr. Shirishi's ideal height level is a perfect score of 95. Mr. Shirishi seeks a deep, invisible spiritual connection with his partner. I think it would be nice to have someone with whom my soul resonates. Meeting 1 or 2 such people in a lifetime will be enough. I think my ideals are quite high. What does it really mean to resonate on a soul level? Only the person themselves can understand that. So you're looking for a meeting that feels fateful. Specifically, right? It's about whether it feels right intuitively, whether there is a part that can be understood without words, and whether there is a special side that these only I know can summarize whether my partner has a special aspect. There are parts of Mr. Shiriwa's deep thoughts that someone as ordinary as me cannot understand. Has an exceptional intuition and possesses a sensitivity that is different from that of ordinary people. I believe that this person is my destined partner. You might understand that with this person, you can connect without words. There may be a deep connection in the unseen aspects. With such a person, you will likely become a kind partner. However, realistically speaking, I think it's quite rare for someone who fits that ideal to appear. There may be a passive side to truly serious love, and there may also be a sense of loneliness. Casual love is different. In summary, Mr. Shiriwa's ideal is to have a special side that is understood without needing words, connecting on an intuitive level that only he knows. This means a woman who possesses these 3 qualities. Next, I will evaluate Mr. Mumehara, who is ranked last at 11th place and has the lowest ideals. Mr. Mumehara's level of idealism is 40 points. It seems that Mr. Mumehara is not fixated on a specific ideal image. Rather, what matters more to him is whether being together is enjoyable. Not boring. Mr. Mumehara has a strong intellectual curiosity and a light-footed nature. Additionally, he is bright and has strong communication skills. So in romance, stimulation, change, and lively communication are important. He doesn't think that things must be a certain way, so we can say that his ideals are not very high. Unlike Shiriwa, who is in first place, I think it can be said that they do not seek a deep, emotional connection with their partner. This is not about which is better or worse, but rather a difference in personality. It reflects the different things we seek in relationships. For example, if either Shariwa or Momehara were a woman, and they were to date, I think they wouldn't be compatible with each other, because what they are seeking is completely opposite. While Mr. Momehara values whether being together is enjoyable and not boring, Mr. Shariwa seeks a soul level connection and a mental bond with others, which means their desires are completely opposite. 180 degrees apart. Returning to Mr. Momehara's story, I think Mr. Momehara can discuss anything with his partner in a friend-like manner, and I believe they can build a fresh, exciting, and fun relationship. That said, I think there can be when a tendency to get bored affects their love life. I think there are people who feel unsatisfied because they don't seek the same depth in their partner. Therefore, a woman who is compatible with Mr. Momehara would have similar qualities and a light-footed nature. She has a strong intellectual curiosity. Someone who seeks lively communication. That will be the best.